A high school girl named Hitomi gets kidnapped by some guys who plan to force themselves on her. Meanwhile, the guy driving the van? Yeah, that's the MC Yuya. Just to be clear, Yuya is a college student. No, he's not a Sifender or an Adam 22 fan. He's just kinda a loser right now. But before he can even think about saving the girl, Hitomi pops up from the back after he stops the van and tells him to keep driving cause they're running late. Curious, Yuya looks back and surprise, the damsel in distress just killed all her attackers. Later, when Hitomi gets to her destination, our boy Yuya storms out of the van and runs for it. Meanwhile, Hitomi calls someone who tells her to make use of him. This shocks the hell out of Hitomi since she thinks of him as a useless piece of trash. But Yuya's a sharp guy, realizing that hanging around this girl's dangerous, so he books it. Still, he lacks Solomon's wisdom, so he tries to get help from a random dude. This dude's chilling alone in a scrapyard just before Yuya's about to get wiped from the series, but the main girl swoops in to save him from the lion boy, who calls himself the king of beasts. Yeah, Hitomi's here to test that title and maybe claim it for herself. So, turns out the scrapyard is actually an arena where Hitomi's about to fight the lion hybrid. And no, she didn't save Yuya out of the goodness of her heart. She saved him because the guy on the phone told her she had to bet Yuya's organs as a prize. Betting odds were stacked against her, like 100-0, but having Yuya as her investor made it 99-1. So now the fight's on. Hitomi tries to trash talk the so-called King of Kings, and this dude decides to slap her. Don't laugh. Hold up. See, even though the lion boy's manhandling her, he lets out a roar that paralyzes the enemy. All animals' instincts when they hear that roar is to tremble in fear. But not Hitomi. She bites off the lion's fingers and reveals she's actually a honey badger hybrid, the most fearless animal on the planet. Don't just take our word for it. Look up honey badgers don't care, and you'll be shook. Anyway, after wrecking her opponent, the crowd's shocked, especially the folks who bet against her and one old pervy dude who's loving it. Cut to Yuya's apartment, where he wakes up thinking it was all a dream until he grabs a handful of that honey badger's chest, which brings everything back. So, he takes Hitomi to his place to treat her injuries and rest as a thanks for saving him. Technically, he didn't have to do that, cause she's the one who put him in that mess in the first place. But hey, he was rolling with those guys who were about to commit a felony, so I'd call it even. But who am I to judge the immorality of a furry anime? I'm just a YouTuber living one view at a time. Later that day, after Yuya takes Hitomi to a restaurant where she acts all kawaii after her murderous rampage, an old man approaches them, and Hitomi starts flirting with him. Turns out this middle-aged guy is her guardian, Shido. He cuts to the chase, docks Yuya to show dominance, and then tells the confused dude that he's in the demium manufacturing business. In fact, Shido's one of the top researchers in that field. He goes on to explain that 4 major companies, called the Zatu conglomerates, sponsor underground death matches in Japan between genetically engineered hybrids, aka Theanthropos, or super furries. These hybrids combine human intelligence with animal strength to attract investors and gain political influence, kinda like how big companies operate IRL. Here's where it gets messy for Yuya. Since Hitomi bet on Yuya's organs, he's technically her only investor, so she can participate in these matches. Now, Hitomi's told to protect Yuya, who's given her 100 million yen as prize money to bet on future fights. Later, while Yuya's getting snacks for his monster girl, he gets attacked by another hybrid. At first, the girl flashes him to lure him in. Then she stabs his leg while he's distracted by her assets. When Yuya asks what she wants, this crazy naked chick says, "I want info about Hitomi." Lucky for Yuya, the girl behind all his problems, Hitomi, shows up to save him before he gets turned into a shish kebab. The hybrid introduces herself as Roko, a porcupine hybrid from the Yatsui Zatu, who uses metallic quills as weapons. She wanted to kill Yuya so Hitomi would have no investor for the next match. But since Hitomi's here, Roko decides to kill her instead. The porcupine girl starts off with some fierce attacks, mixing melee and ranged moves from both land and air, making the fight seem one-sided, or so we thought. Just as Roko's about to finish Yuya off, Hitomi gets up like nothing even happened. Turns out, her honey badger skin is tough as hell and can't be pierced, even by metal. Stunned, Roko makes one last desperate jump at Hitomi, but the badger girl puts her in her place. Hitomi's ready to finish her, but Yuya stops her, not wanting to kill her. Roko's not going down without a fight though, and prepares her final attack on Yuya. That's when another contender enters the scene, a hippo hybrid named Ikios. At first, it looks like he's about to fight, but then he does a 180, gets down on all fours, and asks Hitomi to join the Ishida Zaibatsu. Back at Yuya's apartment, Hitomi's acting all animalistic and refuses the offer. The more they try to get her to join, the angrier she gets. She's even ready to throw down until she gets a message from Shido that changes her mood, making her agree to fight in the next death match as a representative of the Ishida Zaibatsu. The next day, Hitomi wakes Yuya up to an unfamiliar view, white cotton, but we can't show that, so use your imagination, boys. She tells him she's gonna start attending classes at his university. There, she meets one of Yuya's friends, but we don't need to go into into detail about what he's like. Just know he's a walking stereotype of every otaku you've ever heard of. The next scene happens in the girls' bathroom. While answering nature's call, Hitomi runs into Arusa Nakanishi, a cheetah hybrid from the Yatsui Zatu. Arusa steals Hitomi's underwear and gets under her skin, goading her into a fight. Sadly, their catfight gets interrupted by a representative from Mitsuka Zatu and his bear friend. Quick heads up, prepare for a cringe-worthy bear pun. The guy tells them that Hitomi's officially representing Ishida in the next deathmatch, so they can't fight until then. Of course, Hitomi can't stand hearing him talk anymore, so she attacks the four-eyed guy, who turns out to be pretty quick on his feet. After defusing the situation, an unknown observer of the fight reveals that all four Zatu are targeting Hitomi, and are most likely going to strike during the upcoming deathmatch. To hide their hybrid identities, Hitomi and Arusa end up wearing cosplay while students from the photography club snap pics of them. It was a pretty genius idea from Yuya's otaku friend, and Arusa's all for it, even though Hitomi's not too thrilled about the idea. That said, Hitomi does end up enjoying posing for the crowd as much as they enjoy taking all those pics. Afterward, the trio leaves and the girls decide to split up and head to a cafe to hang out. Like, you know, after they just tried to kill each other 5 minutes ago. Yuya comes home late and finds Leo, the lion hybrid, still alive. Not gonna lie, Yuya strikes me as a little brain damaged. I mean, it's one thing to get doxxed by some random person in a league chat on the other side of the world, but it's a whole different story to get doxxed by a whole squad of killers. At some point, you'd think a guy would change his dress, or at least change the damn door locks, cause clearly, the ones he's got aren't keeping anyone out, except maybe his pride, of course. Then, a girl named Yoko Mitsuka, the granddaughter of the Mitsuka Batu president, pops up and reveals that Hitomi's guardian, Shido, is using these matches to test his hybrid research. That's why Yuya had to join the match as Hitomi's strategist. But even after hearing how he's being manipulated, it doesn't change his mind. He's like, I'm leaving this decision up to the random chick I picked up in the van. Yoko leaves his crappy apartment, mad that he doesn't back down, hoping his cowardice would make him say, yo, people die for real, I'm out. But nope. Instead, she decides to enter the match herself, making sure Hitomi bites the dust. However, there's still one big obstacle in front of Team Misfits, and that's finding a third member, because the match requires 3 players. So, Ichinoshi tries recruiting other hybrids, but the only one available is Yui, a rabbit hybrid. Yui, who's never won a match, but to her credit, she's cute as hell. And that trumps everything in my book. Alas, just like Yuya, Yui's lacking courage. No matter how much the hippo dude or the badger girl scares her and flirts with her, they can't convince her to join a deathmatch. So, Hitomi sends her lover boy to talk to the cute little bunny after she leaves. But just as he's trying to break the ice, they get attacked by a Kami, a horned lizard hybrid who's trying to stop other hybrids from joining the Ishida, aka Misfit team. Yui almost gets shot by blood bullets from Ami's eyes, and even though she's quick as hell, the bunny girl gets cornered in an alley. Luckily, she gets saved by Hitomi. Using her sensitive hearing, Yui figures out that Ami's got a twin sister shooting from another spot, which lets the main girl defeat them. Since fighting before the match is a no-go, Hitomi blackmails the sisters into claiming they were defeated by Yui. As a result, Yui gets all excited about her first ever victory, and she kinda convinces herself that she totally defeated the assassins using her brains and strength, so she joins their team before the matches even start. The Misfits get invited to a fancy dinner with the other players, and while they're there, Leo, looking as sharp as ever, but still condescending as hell, comes up to them. But Hitomi just shoots him down when she says she doesn't even remember that Leo guy. Their little chat gets cut short by Nakanishi Tiga, a tiger hybrid fighting for the Yatsubishi. Long story short, Tiga's kinda bummed he won't be facing his rival Leo at the tournament, because Leo pulled out, claiming his arm's not healed yet. Though, let's be real, that seems kinda fishy. Meanwhile, Uza decides she wants to kill Hitomi, cause, well, she's fallen in love with her? Don't ask. Girls, man. Shido gets announced as the director of the match on Hot Island, out in the Philippine Sea. After that, the big guy checks on his bunny, but he finds she's nowhere to be found. Yui's on the verge of getting inducted into the Hash Me Too movement, but thank God Hitomi shows up just in time to stop things from going totally off the rails, only 4 episodes in. Back on track, the hybrids are basically being moved around like chess pieces by their investors. So Yuya's treated like crap by his investor opponents at first, because they know he's totally clueless about how to play the game. But then, they gotta take him seriously when he makes a pretty boss move. Turns out, Hitomi's been giving him hand signals through the CCTV, telling him where to move. Apparently, they had a meeting beforehand about what's what. Knowing her boy's as dumb as a bag of rocks, Hitomi faces her first opponent, Hongo, a bear hybrid representing the Mit Swado. After talking to Leo, she learns that Hitomi tends to measure an opponent's strength by tanking the first hit. Leo advises Hongo to not hold back and hit her with his hardest blow to finish her right then and there. Surprise! Our badass badger shocks everyone by taking him out in less than a second with just one move. Turns out she didn't need to tank the hit. She'd already registered it from their run-in at Yuya's university. Elsewhere, Ianosi gets hit from behind by the tiger guy, but this big dude's built different, like literally built like a hippo. So one hit like that isn't enough to take him out. Still, he doesn't have the power to beat Tiga, the former champ, so he gets roped into a temporary alliance with Shota, a gorilla hybrid from Mitsuka, and Ryuji, a crocodile hybrid from Sumitomo, to take down the menace. But then, the crocodile dude decides to go solo against Tiga, and quickly learns he's way out of his league. Didn't even land a single hit. Jungle Boy's dodging like Muhammad Ali and hitting like Mike Tyson. To put it simply, Tiga shows him who's boss. Seeing how one part of this ragtag alliance is getting toyed with, the four-eyed dude joins in. Croc's not having it and starts arguing with the others, giving Tiga the chance to bounce back and drop Monkey Boy. Tiga uses the jungle to his advantage, hopping around like a madman. Nah, scratch that. Like a mad kitty, taking out everyone in his path. That leaves Ienosi standing alone against this absolute powerhouse. But, like, the big guy's no coward. He doesn't back down. Instead, he takes an offensive stance, ready to go down swinging. But then, Ienosi gets orders from his investor to move to another area to check on Arusa. Before he can leave, Ryuji traps Tiga's leg in his jaws and starts spinning like crocodiles do in real life. It's actually pretty dope. I mean, there's that one video where a croc mistakes his buddy's leg for food and starts spinning. Wild, right? Anyway, Yuya figures out that Ryuji set this whole thing up since hybrids who don't follow the game's rules will get blown up by their collars. Now, you might wonder, why does Tiga's boss want to move him? Well, Arusa's been moved to an area not covered by the cameras, which gives Kaidi, a gecko hybrid, and Danuna, a creepy cobra hybrid, the chance to jump her, beat her, and do some weird stuff. Meanwhile, the bunny girl's just chilling on the island, doing her thing, digging a burrow. Don't look at me like that. You gotta give props where it's due. Back to the action, Kaidi's getting ready to show Arusa what they do over H-anime. But unlucky for him, Hitomi shows up, having been moved there by Yuya to save Arusa. Of course, the investors clown Yuya for making a dumb move saving an opponent. As the cameras shift to the area, Hitomi's struggling to handle Kaidi's sticky fighting style. Both girls are looking worse for wear, so they reluctantly agree to team up. Hitomi decides to fight Den, while Arusa takes on Kaidi. A flashback shows Den meeting Kaidi for the first time, and little bro tried to be all polite and give compliments to the big mama, but Kaidi wasn't having it. The crocodile dude was the only one who didn't waste time with pleasantries. He got straight to business, taking on the badger girl for one of the CEOs who's not too happy with Shido controlling the tournament. Meanwhile, Yuya finds out that when Shido took control of the matches, he changed the rules so that criminals like Den could volunteer to become hybrids and compete. So, yeah, both of these monsters fighting on screen are basically the result of Shido's twisted experiments. Elsewhere, Tiga decides that if he's going down, he's bringing the scaly guy with him. The latter's down for that, as long as he gets to defeat the king. But just after Tiga's freed from Ryuji's jaws by Ichin, the latter remembers a convo with his boss about how beastmen should value their lives. This leads to Tiga quickly escaping and canceling the explosion that would have killed him. As a result, Ryuji's furious and swears he's gonna kill Ichin. Crocodile Boy powers up, healing his wound. Fun fact, crocs not only have tough bodies that heal fast, but their immune systems can even cure HIV, which I had to Google. And surprise, they can also cure cancer. Back to the story. Bad Bunny's digging an insane tunnel underground, having the time of her life. Meanwhile, Hitomi's still going up against the little snake dude, Den. She manages to trick him and goes for his weak spot, but Den uses his snake tongue to track her body heat and sees her coming. Suddenly, Hitomi collapses, paralyzed by Den's venom. On the other side, Kaidi continues to evolve into a monster gecko and overpowers Arusa. Back to Den, he's about to go for the kill, but at the last second, Hitomi snaps out of the paralysis and takes his genitals clean off with a single move. He's pissed, obviously, and attacks, but Hitomi cuts him in half, severing his tail and putting him out of commission. So, now it's just Kaidi left to fight both Uza and Hitomi. By the way, Ichin was getting wrecked by Ryuji, but luckily for him, the fight's interrupted by Kido, a hybrid sponsored by Yoko, who, in case you forgot, is the granddaughter of that creepy old man. Since Kido's on Shota's team, he's not catching any heat, just two aquatic animals now, and Kido's an absolute beast. He knocks Ryuji out with a single punch, even without using his hybrid form. The investors are shocked, and so am I, honestly, when he just mercilessly starts beating the dead croc's body. His reasoning? If he breaks him into pieces, it'll be easier to turn him into fertilizer to grow trees. Yeah, the guy's an environmentalist, I guess. Anyway, seeing the hippo in trouble, the bee on the other side tells Ichin to retreat, but before he could finish the job, the monkey boy corners him and jumps to take him out. Yet, his fists hit nothing. Like, the big guy just vanished in a split second. A few seconds later, Ienosi is shown falling into one of the tunnels Yui dug. The big dude thanks her, then decides to chill for a bit while Yui keeps digging. She pops up next to Shota, who's basically a walking ad for why you should never skip leg day. Seeing that monster, the bunny girl tries to run, but she's stopped, so she just puts on a brave face. To the main event, Kaidi gets ordered to retreat to a safer spot, which turns out to be a huge mistake. She eventually runs right into the tiger boy, who wastes no time killing her. Meanwhile, the girls, Arusa and Hitomi, start going at it, having a good fight, but it takes a weird turn when they end up on the ground. Hitomi's in the guard position, with Arusa on top, looking like she's about to finish her. But then, The cheetah girl leans in and locks lips. Hitomi's taken aback at first, but then she follows suit with all the passion. The camera pans up and we see they've both been drugged by Kori, a civet hybrid from Yatsui who can produce a pheromone that makes them uncontrollably lustful. And just for the record, we were curious, so we googled civet, and yeah. Anyway, this really ticks off Yoko, who finds these tactics totally shameful and dishonorable. But of course, the investors don't care. They're just getting more hyped watching Arusa and Hitomi. Seeing this, Yoko demands the game continues. Meanwhile, the main guy's just sitting back, impressed. Then, we find out her real goal. She wants to humiliate Shido. To do that, she has to beat his hybrids and tactics, hoping that'll break his hold on her grandfather. Funny enough, the pervy old sage is chilling in a different room with Shido, enjoying the show, until Yoko ruins it. Back on the field, Hitomi snaps out of the lust-induced haze by focusing on her real lust for Shido, and then attacks Kaidi just as IGA reaches them. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the heads of the Zaibatsu discuss how they're planning to corruptly legalize hybrids, turning the matches into a legit business where only the winning Zatsu gets control. So, the bald dude who thought he could manipulate his way to victory knows that Shido, as the head honcho of the hybrid project, has been pulling strings too. No matter which Zatsu wins, Shido's gonna end up with all the power. But now that the corporate backstabbing is out of the way, we're back to the action. IGA insists on facing Hitomi alone, no help from Uza or Kori. Seeing this, Yuya realizes there are no friends in a deathmatch. There's only one team that can come out on top. The sponsor for Team Tiger's like, this is just how it goes, right? My boys are gonna face Yoko's team. Yuya's just a non-factor. Speaking of non-factors, the monkey and banana chase ends with Shota trapping Yui, but at the cost of wrecking a bunch of trees. Yep, the stick legs have forgotten that Kido hates anyone messing with the forest. So, when the big guy gives the monkey boy a death stare, instead of calming down, the monkey's minority complex kicks in, and he lashes out, trying to knock out his leaf-loving teammate. Doesn't work. Now, I don't want to be mean, but let's be real for a second. A guy wearing glasses who skips leg day isn't going to be knocking out someone with a face tattoo, especially when he looks like Mike Tyson from certain angles. Needless to say, Kido rips Shota in half but leaves Yui alive. After the big guy heads off to his next spot, Yui's determined to help Hitomi, telling her everything she saw. Meanwhile, Hitomi's jumped by the upper half of the snake boy, and she easily knocks him out but doesn't kill him, just tosses him to the camera crew to get him off the island. Tao's impressed. He sees sparing a foe's life as a sign of strength. We get a flashback to his past. After Taiga defeated a bunch of lackeys, he headed to the school's roof where Leo was chilling. Leo said some harsh words, talking about how he's at the top of the business and doesn't mess with weaklings, only those close in power to him. Taiga tried to swing at him, but Leo stopped it with one hand and kept talking down to him. But Blondie gathers some courage and raises his hand again. Leo's like, damn, that's some serious strength. Maybe you're worth something. He tells Taiga to undergo the beast modification and only then could he challenge him. Fast forward to the present, IGA announces his ultimate goal is to defeat Leo, revealing Leo had only pretended to lose to Hitomi because her strength was so far beneath his, he didn't take her seriously. IGA believes Hitomi insulted Leo by thinking she could kill him, so now Taiga's determined to take her out for the disrespect. And with that, the battle between Hitomi and Tiger begins, with the hottie welcoming the challenge with a scary smile. Tiger Boy usually lets his opponent make the first move, since fear makes it easier to counter, but this time, he goes in first. Hitomi doesn't even budge, knowing she can tank a hit. She takes all of Tiger's blows, studying him, waiting for the perfect moment to counter. After taking the hits like a champ and reassessing, she gets back in the stance. Tiger admits he underestimated her. Suddenly, Yui shows up, trying to warn Hitomi about Kido, unaware that IGA's behind her. As she runs away, Yui's hit by Kido's pheromones and collapses. She's surprised though, because the gas is at its lowest effectiveness. Yui didn't know how down bad rabbits can get. Anyway, back to the fight. Tiger Boy admits Badger Girl is strong and could definitely beat Leo, so he decides to power up to the max for the final blow. On the other side, Yuya's getting mocked by the investors for his playstyle, but thinking back to how his life was empty before meeting Hitomi, he overcomes his fear of decision-making. For once, he takes action and focuses on his friendship with second best girl, deciding to move Hitomi elsewhere so she can continue her fight with Tiger. Yoko tries to gaslight him, manipulate his decision, but Yuya realizes his true role now and decides to stick to his guns. He's not negotiating with these sharks. He's keeping 100% equity on his choices. Sadly, before Hitomi can counter Tiger's next attack, proving Yuya was right, she's suddenly hit by Kido's tail, which is covered in thick protective scales. That's when Yuya realizes Yoko wasn't trying to make him leave the area. No, she was emotionally manipulating him into keeping Hitomi in the fight so Kido could kill her. Back on the field, Yui, still overwhelmed by lust, tricks Kido into falling into one of her tunnels. Hitomi tries to fight back against the big brute, but cutting through Kido's armor is just too hard, if not impossible. She gets totally dumpstered by Kido and his tail. As Kido's about to finish off Hitomi, He's attacked from behind by Taiga, but even he can't break Kito's skin. Soon, Kito fully transforms, and everyone's shocked to see his true form. For those wondering what the heck that is, it's a Pangalang hybrid, and let me tell you, it looks sick compared to the animal it's based on. After Hitomi's knocked unconscious, Taiga tries to claw through Kito's scales, but the big guy turns into a ball of steel, like some kind of crazy pangolin move. Classic cat behavior though. Taiga keeps attacking, and it's all a trap. Kito opens a hole in his form, and Taiga sticks his arm in. Side note for you fellas, not every hole is a goal. IGA's saved by Ichinosi, whose attack knocks Kato to the ground, and they start sumo wrestling. But Kato doesn't play fair. He stabs the hippo. However, this leaves Kato vulnerable long enough for Taiga to claw out his right eye. Despite this, both Taiga and Ichinosi are quickly overwhelmed by Kato, who stands strong above them. On the other side, Yoko is over the moon, declaring her victory for Mitsuwato. She's lost her mind with joy, but just as she starts celebrating, Hitomi suddenly explodes with energy and transforms into her monstrous honey badger form. It's still her, but wilder. Her fur becomes even whiter, and she's much more powerful. A true super badger scion. A flashback reveals Shido's first encounter with Hitomi 7 years ago. Back then, Hitomi was living like a wild animal in Hong Kong. Her life was about to change when Shido entered it, feeding her and spending time with her, despite all the injuries she caused him. Eventually, Shido gained her trust and named her Kitomi. However, Shido's co-worker, Shibayama, shot her with tranquilizers, causing her to collapse in an area controlled by the Lumen Mafia. Shido shielded the little Hitomi with his own body, and this moment shows us why she grew so attached to him. She became his loyal companion, and this is key to understanding her feelings for him. This bit is important because it will shed light on future actions. Eventually, the group is saved from the Mafia by the match overseer, Shinozaki. Back in the present, Hitomi taunts Kito by sitting on his tail like it's nothing. The juiced-up Honey Badger's attacks are way stronger now, with her punches so powerful that the players have to cover their ears. The fight rages on, destroying filming equipment and cutting the power, causing the signal to the ship to be lost. Hitomi slashes Kito's unprotected chest, and in response, Kito decides to go into ball mode. This, however, is a terrible move because in that part of the world, people love soccer, and Hitomi has no problem kicking him into several trees, breaking them as well as his mind. Kito's flashback reveals that he associates his trauma with his late mother, who passed away, leaving him with an abusive, alcoholic father. The flowers his late mother had left behind only drove him further into madness, eventually leading him to kill his father. In the present, Kito severs Hitomi's right arm, then forces his protective scales outward, turning them into rows of knives. Hitomi, however, pulls a classic move. She bites her fingers to snap out of the pain, focusing on the game at hand. She dodges the devastating hits until she doesn't. When Kito lands a solid blow, he drops the main girl and starts beating her mercilessly, but it was all part of the plan. As she's beaten down, she flings her severed arm into his face, creating an opening for her next move. In the middle of this, she smiles. That smile reminds Kito of his mother, and for just a moment, he lets his guard down. Taking advantage of this split-second vulnerability, Hitomi thrusts her remaining arm down his throat. Yoko, seeing this, is enraged. She's lost to Shido, and even worse, she's lost to the guy she had branded as a retread. Kito, despite the massive damage, somehow stands back up, but Yoko can't contain herself until Aruza comes flying out of nowhere and slashes his throat. With that out of the way, Aruza becomes the Killing Bites champion, standing victorious. Yoko, in shock, passes out from the intense emotional blow. To everyone's surprise, Yui, who had been knocked out earlier, suddenly wakes up in the cutest way imaginable. However, when she sees Aruza, a cheetah with violence in her eyes, Yui freaks out and tries to flee. In her panic, she accidentally performs a perfect somersault kick, knocking Aruza unconscious. The overseer, Shinozaki, declares Yui as the Killing Bites champion. Meanwhile, the presidents of the 4 Zaibatsu companies bicker fiercely, accusing each other of cheating. In the midst of their argument, all the lights and monitors suddenly shut down. Unseen by the representatives, the island has been infiltrated by chameleon hybrids under orders to kill all surviving hybrids. So the match gets called off, and no one's gonna win. The chameleon hybrids, who were ordered by Sumomo, try to take out all the surviving hybrids. Luckily, when one of the chameleons shoots his tongue, Yui, with her crazy sharp hearing, manages to dodge it. She dodges a bunch of hits, but then she trips and gets caught by the other chameleon assassins. After getting caught in a classic passion move, the honey badger senses something's up, so she stands up and defends her teammate long enough to say, "After all, this is Killing Bites," for like the millionth time. Then the overseer, Shinosaki, shows up and stops the assassins. Mamino then straight up declares Yui the winner. After the assassination fails, the Sumomo chairman admits to cheating, but instead of getting applause for being honest, the Baldy gets the claws of the lion, aka the claws of Leo. At that moment, Shido stirs up a coup, leading it with the Ashida and Yatsui chairman, plus the anti-chairman faction from Mitsuka. For the folks who don't know what Akuda means, it's basically a violent overthrow of an organization. The old man thought he was safe. He starts acting all cocky. Then the homie says, "What the hell are you talking about? It's your time to go, Gramps." Turns out, the board had other plans. They wanted to give regular civilians access to the hybrid creation surgery. Hearing this, the old creep orders Leo to take him out, but then Leo hits him with, "Who the hell do you think you are ordering me around? I'm a lion, the prideful animal on the planet, and I don't take orders from weak humans like you. I only work for myself." Kinda ironic though, since he's working for the board right now. Anyway, after literally backstabbing his old boss, Yoko walks in to find her grandfather's lifeless body. And if that wasn't enough, on top of losing the competition and her creepy old grandpa, she gets totally humiliated. Yep, Leo takes revenge on her for abusing hybrids. And by revenge, I mean SAA, or as the narrator says, when a lion defeats another head lion, they claim the lioness as a prize and, well, procreate with them. With the match over, Hitomi vanishes from Yuya's life. So, Yuya goes back to his usual routine, kinda. Now though, the dude's got some backbone. He's not letting anyone push him around anymore. Also, having 300 million yen just chilling in your living room? Yeah. That's definitely not normal. 2 weeks later, Yuya gets a message from Hitomi asking him to meet her at the arena where she fought Leo. At the arena, Yuya thanks Hitomi for giving him confidence, and Hitomi thanks him for helping her during her matches. Yuya almost confesses his feelings for her, but then Hitomi suddenly attacks and kills him. His death was ordered by Shido. Yep, remember what was said earlier. She follows that guy's orders. No questions asked. For what it's worth though, after she leaves, Hitomi starts crying. Soon after, hybrids are fully accepted into human society, and they get their own city on an island in Tokyo Bay. Non-lethal killing bites matches become a huge hit, and lots of young hybrids are aiming to be champions. So, there's a silver lining. It's revealed that Yuya is still alive, and he's planning to use a couple of young female hybrids to get his revenge on Hitomi, Shido, and the whole Zaibatsu organization. And with that cliffhanger, the series ends. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to hit 10K likes for the Season 2 recap. Peace out.